Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about how to reduce the stress of learning a language. I used to believe that learning a language needed a lot of just sitting down and gritting it out and just kind of working through things. But however, that has not been a good strategy for me, and I believe the best way is to try and keep it fun and enjoyable. And there is a lot of stress when there is learning a language, so it's all about how to reduce it and make it a lot more fun. So yeah, just want to say, if you're new here on this channel, I share my journey learning languages as a Muslim. And the number one thing I'm going to talk about is when you're learning a language is expect not to understand everything. When I was learning things with another language, I thought I would understand things, start on chapter 1, build up a few words and start on chapter 2 and things like that. But that does not work. You don't memorize things at the right time. Ideas and concepts don't go in at the same time. It's not like a very linear thing how you sort of learn a language. I've definitely learned it can be quite random and things. It needs time for your brain to kind of connect things. But the most important thing is just to keep going even when I don't understand it. And that sounds quite counterintuitive, and you feel like, oh my god, what am I'm not learning anything, I've just got these things just coming to my ears. But trust me, it has been really important, and just have to just keep persevering, just keep going with that, just keep letting things going inside your head. I know Matt V Japan, who has a really cool channel about how he learned Japanese. He was just listening to anime loads and loads and loads. You just need lots and lots of hours of just doing that. Just lots and lots of hours of that language that you're learning. So in my case, French, just going into my ears. And yeah, and the more I watch, the more I listen, the more I start to connections start to keep coming. And things like certain words like maintenant, aussi, travail, la habite, sens de manger, all of these kind of little words just keep coming into my head just because I've seen them on the screen, and I'm watching shows and stuff that I like. So even when I don't understand, it's still quite fun just to see what's going on. For example, I'm watching this show on Netflix, which is about people. It's called the Parisian Agency. So they sell property in France, like beautiful, amazing, really big property. So it's quite interesting just watching that, and then you end up picking up bits of words about different rooms, different items. So, and there might be an episode where I feel like I haven't learned anything, and then later on something might just sink and come into my head. Number 2 is don't do questions that are too difficult for you. And when you're getting used to a language, it's very important just to kind of keep things very simple as well. And when I say difficult, I don't mean super, super difficult. I mean even just a little bit difficult, then that can make it difficult. And then what happens is things kind of spiral. So you can't get that right. Then you move on to the next thing. Then it gets even more difficult. And then to the next thing, then it gets even more difficult. And then for me, it just wasn't good for my sort of confidence and sort of trying to pick up that language. So what I do is I keep it super, super simple. And, most of the time I don't even do questions or tests. I'm just listening, reading, things like that, just kind of reading stuff aloud. I find that just works really well as well. And you may be asking, what about Duolingo? That asks you questions. But what I love about Duolingo is that, it's the questions that ask you are sort of to your level. They're very small, little sort of questions. Each lesson is about 3 minutes. And what you find is if you get a question wrong, it kind of will give you that question later on, but it'll make it easier. So that's what I really love about it. So in my opinion, I think simple questions that I can easily answer are fine. Things like Duolingo, because it's just so easy to pick up and use. And, I think I've actually learned quite a lot from Duolingo. And I'm going to continue doing that. I'm on nearly 60 days streak with Duolingo, and it's been fantastic. Another thing is, don't leave it to your teacher to decide what you learn on. So a lot of people in high school and secondary school and things like that, it's down to the teacher to come up with the exercises, the questions, the things that you learn about. It might be some random thing about someone going to the airport or something like that, and you may have no interest in that. So that's why it's very important, I think, for us to kind of dictate what the teacher teaches us. So I remember I had an Arabic teacher a long time ago, and we were kind of going through this book, and I was struggling with a lot of the stuff in there. It was getting kind of more and more complicated. We're going from one exercise to the next, to the next, to the next. I didn't feel like I was really learning much, and it was just getting too difficult and overwhelming. Whereas now when I speak to my teacher, I kind of try and lead it myself and speak to him about what I'm interested in, what I want to learn about. And sometimes I don't, and we just end up having a discussion and trying to come up with something. And then we just kind of when I was going to France, we were talking about how to order things from a bakery. That was kind of really helpful, really fun. But I wasn't kind of memorizing it and then having to talk back to him afterwards. It was just kind of just me making notes and just having these sentences. Yeah, it was just nice just to have that discussion with him. And so those are the sort of things that I do with my teacher. And what I would recommend, that works for me was, just for me to just keep it quite casual and just kind of focus on the things that I'm curious when I'm with my teacher. Another thing I would say is remove the stress to perform. So like don't speak to people, especially when you're starting out. It can feel like a lot of pressure. And so I definitely wouldn't recommend that. And for me, I don't really speak to people much now, although I want to slowly do a bit more of that. So yeah, that's something I will be kind of working on. And but yeah, I think definitely at the beginning, especially like I still need to build up my vocabulary. I still need to get used to listening and understanding things. So there's still so much I can do before I even get to speaking. So yeah, I think that's really important. Another thing I do to reduce pressure is just to read sentences aloud on my own. So that is so much less pressure. I just look in the mirror. When I'm doing Duo Lingo, I can repeat the things that it says. If I'm watching something, I try and repeat the word as well. I just do it by myself. I don't wait for someone to be around because it can feel awkward, feel weird. You still kind of get used to the language. And then the next thing, just to like be really important, is just to stay active, just stay in the process. The most important thing is to stay in the language. I find it much better for me just to do a little bit of Duo Lingo each day than rather than doing nothing at all or doing something like super difficult. It's just to keep the thing churning, just keep the gears and stuff in my brain going and try and build those connections. Even doing a little bit each day, that adds up massively. I feel like I've learned quite a lot actually. And and just another way to reduce stress, just watch things that you're curious about. I watch this Tour de France program, cooking programs, just whatever. It's really a good way to kind of just reduce stress. Another thing is use social media in another language. So, find influencers, people, accounts in another language that you like. Could be something you're interested in, food, anything. Just hearing people talk about French, it helps a lot. So, there's loads of things about food and people cooking in French. And I love watching. It's just great to watch. And on top of that, I'm getting that listening practice. I'm just getting exposure to the language. And another thing is when I'm curious and I kind of look things up. So, I was watching the program, the Parisian agency, they were talking about the word couer. And I didn't know what that meant. And then I kind of I kept hearing it a few times. So then I looked it up, then I realized it meant heart. And it just kind of stuck as well. So when you're curious about things sort of stick in your head. So that's really interesting. So it's really important to find things that I'm interested in, that I really want to do. And like I said before, is just continue to engage with the language. My main goal is not to give up. So even if I feel really fed up and I'm struggling, just keep it simple. Go back, just watch something, just do something like that. It's just to stick with the language. And I really regret that, when I was learning Arabic and stuff before, that I kind of quit. And I really wish I'd just kind of stuck at it, because who knows where I would have been now. So that's why my main thing is just to keep at it. Even if I do a tiny minute, a little bit, 1 minute, watch something for a minute, watch a bit of social media. The key thing is just to kind of stick with the language. So I just want to say thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, as it really helps with the algorithm. Assalamu alaikum.